It is I, Big Dan, Rodan, coming at you live from the 215.
The 215.
Thank you for joining us here at BNR,
BNR,
which stands for Booze, News, Reviews. I still got to do the rest of my intro because I only said coming to you live from the 215. I am your comic book connoisseur, your sommelier of sci-fi and superheroes, here to welcome you to another episode of BNR. Nope. We are out of practice. One more time. Thank you. As you can see here, we are not by ourselves.
Not alone.
Even if we were, you can't do anything about it.
But it's our show.
It is our show.
Oh, goodness.
I would like to introduce to the Barflies someone who is very near and dear and just an amazing person to me. This is Reginald. I call him Sensei because he has given me leadership in almost every point of my life, from being married to being a dad to being a nerd, and just a blurred all around. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Evening, good people. I'm Reginald. However, better known as the number one fan of the Amazing Spider-Man, if you couldn't tell by my T-shirt.
Oh, the number one fan. Get at him.
However, not to say that I don't give DC love. There is one particular character, and I see Daniel rolling his eyes at me in the DC universe, which happens to be Captain Marvel.
Really?
Yes.
He is a big Captain Marvel fan.
We don't have time to delve into that right there, but
we can unpack that at a later date.
Oh man. Oh wow! How does that make you? We don't.
You know,
talk about it.
It's not something we talk about often, but when we do,
real quick, how do you like the movie, and how do you like the actor portraying Captain Marvel?
So Dan knows this about me, and I'm not sure if you do.
No, we are talking about DC.
Right.
Captain Marvel, so Shazam. I saw
okay.
you. I saw
right.
the.
Okay, I'm
yeah.
lost. I'm not. Okay.
But he's talking about Shazam, but
yeah.
he's Captain Marvel by name. Get it right.
That's true.
Originally Captain Marvel.
Yes. Oh, well then. Okay. Oh, well that changes everything. You guys are fine.
We've already discussed it, so
no blood loss.
Yeah, I've licked my wounds and walked away from it. I was like, I understand.
But did you enjoy the family aspect of it?
So unfortunately, whenever there is a retcon,
talk about it.
Unfortunately, a lot of times, I guess maybe just first and foremost, I am a comic book purist.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they do these retcons, you take away from the true spirit of what it was originally. A lot of times, and I understand what it is that they are trying to do to mass appeal.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan.
Are you excited for Black Adam?
I'm very excited for Black Adam and to see how The Rock portrays him, because this has been one of his passion projects
for a long time.
Last 15 plus years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've watched how he's tried to get this on behind the scenes, for that amount of time, and have been waiting patiently to see what it turns out to be. And so far, at least looking at the trailer, it seems very promising. And one character, that they've not talked about that's in there is ISIS. I won't go too much into it other than to say that, me as a kid, the two TV shows that I mostly enjoyed when I was super young coming up was the Power Hour, which included Captain Marvel, a.k.a. Shazam, and ISIS, which came on CBS on Saturday mornings back in the 70s.
Oh, he dated himself. I was hoping he wasn't going to do it, but he did it. It's fine.
No, it's all good,
It's fine. Like I said.
However, I will say, majority of what I've watched, I've found and searched via comic book conventions. Because a lot of that stuff you just don't find, online nowadays. But even before, the internet, trying to search for that, you could only find it on VHS back in the day at a comic book convention. So
One day we got to get out there to a comic book convention.
We will. Do you think that they should reboot the DCEU with Black Adam?
ooh, that's a loaded question. And the reason why I say it's a loaded question is because the good people at the WB / now Discovery, I don't know that they know what they're doing. If they had a direction or a plan about how to map this out and go about this, then I would certainly support it. But for right now, they just seem lost, completely lost.
When it comes to their live action?
When it comes to
DCEU.
live action, yes. Animation has been a little bit different story up until the last couple of years. However, you know, with them ending that whole DC animated universe canon that they had going on for a while now, I'm curious to see how they go about this moving forward. Because there was some continuity in their stories for which they were telling with their DC animated universe for a long while there.
And it was great. And then they lost it. I don't know what they did.
Yeah, so I don't know what the direction is here moving forward. You know, are they just doing one-off stories, or is there going to be a start of some new continuity? I don't know, but they seem lost.
That's right.
Fair enough.
You're lost. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. And on that note, oh wait,
You haven't introduced
well, I
yourself.
was about to say, did you? Because I kind of like just jumped in there, but you can continue to introduce yourself.
Sure. Once again, Reginald. However, I am a long time comic book fan, nerd, blurred. You know, going back quite a few. However, growing up, one of my passions, and you know, and unfortunately, I do have to date myself here.
It's too late. You already did it. It's fine.
You know, having to go down to the end of the block or around the corner to the 7-Eleven to go get a comic book, you know, before I was able to leave the block, so to say, you know, to go to the comic book store, because this was pre-internet. So, you know, there was no looking up something to see whatever online.
You had to read it or you missed it.
Exactly. So, you know, that helped fuel my imagination throughout the years and kept me interested in everything that's going on in that universe, as well as anime. I am a huge anime fan as well. But that's enough about me.
Full button.
Yeah, you get the full button.
And I'm just
J-Hawk.
regular, you know, 'tis I, hailing from the land of Sake, Shinobi, and Samurai. The boy is Godzilla personified. Ain't no other name but this to go by. It's your boy, J-Hawk.
Nope. There we go.
I thought, I was like, well, red is my color, so maybe
It's
it
always
is that one.
been that
It's like,
color.
there
we
it
go.
is. All right.
We are certainly out of practice. It's been a while. We just came here to interrupt our sabbatical of just to give you guys a BNR, because it's an important one for at least me. I don't know about everybody else, but for me at least.
If it's important to you, it's important to the rest of us.
Let's go. I appreciate that.
That's sweet.
But we're going to do our
Not
booze.
gonna say it was right, but it was sweet.
We're going to do the booze portion first. It sounds like we've already started, but we haven't. The bottle has yet to be opened. Thank you. Excuse me. Now, Sensei is abstaining, but what we do here is we don't judge. So he's allowed to have whatever he'd like. Will be that water, green tea.
I'm gonna talk about what we have tonight.
Yeah, but go ahead.
We got Dad's Hat Pennsylvania Rye Whiskey, 90 proof, by the way. Here's what they have to say about it. Our classic rye recipe features only rye grain and malt to deliver a pure expression of Pennsylvania rye whiskey.
Oh, that's great.
Barrel aging for at least 6 months in charred new oak quarter casks allows the genuine rye flavor to evolve quickly. As a result, the small batch whiskey is ensured of reaching the right balance of complexity and smoothness. The final product is a very smooth spirit that delivers the upfront spice that rye is known for while finishing with a full, round mouthfeel. Notice that the tasting notes are floral and spicy on the nose with a well-balanced mouthfeel and flavor. Upfront and back-end spice, cinnamon on the mid-palate. Underlying notes of dried fruit and black cherry with hints of tobacco, vanilla, and oak. This is Dad's Hat, Pennsylvania Rye Whiskey, 90 proof.
So,
Tell us what you think.
they are not wrong about the tobacco. This is definitely the name Dad's Hat to me already seems like you should know what you're getting into with this. This is not a party whiskey. This is not a this is very much kick off your shoes, relax your feet. Jeopardy is about to come on whiskey, and I appreciate it. As we talked about a lot of whiskeys here before, this one, once again, smooth at first, and then that kick, that burn going down, I was like, I might be too young for this one. But I appreciate it, is what I will say. Is it one of my favorites that we've had so far? Not so much. But if we're tasting a whiskey, I'm going to have to say 3.7 for me. I would, you know what I would also not do? I'd probably not dilute it or mix it with anything. If I was drinking this on a regular, I wouldn't mix it with anything. This would definitely be like a cube of ice at most.
So for me, it's the beginning of the journey and the end of the journey are very rough and very like, I don't know if I like this. The middle of the journey, I find very pleasant.
It's like this is doable.
Just like letting it like sit on your tongue, sit on the mid palate. That's where you get all that like cinnamon and like the vanilla comes through and all that. But I will say like the hints of tobacco are more like full on
Blue's Clues, like
Tabasco or tobacco?
Tobacco. This is more like the obvious Blue's Clues, not no hints. This is very much like it's like right there.
It really.
Sorry, I've been watching Blue's Clues with Lavender. It's in the forefront of my brain.
It's this is not my favorite whiskey that we've had for sure. Only because it really is like the beginning and end are just like horror pieces. But the middle is like this is it's like I remember Di Serono. It's so sweet. It's like you drink it and it's like and then like it goes down and you like kind of forget and it's like I think I like that. Let me try it again. And then you drink it's like and it's and then you forget again. This isn't that.
Nah, this is very much like I've walked into something bad and then
right. I've walked into a situation.
Right. And then you kind of sit there for a second and you're like, maybe
it's not that bad.
But then
you
you're
have
like,
to walk out. Yeah. It's this will be a slow sipper for me. I will give it for me personally a 2.5.
All right. It happens.
It happens.
We're allowed to have opinions about certain things. But we're going to move on.
Moving on
to our news portion. And I don't have that much, actually.
Oh, and I'm definitely going to mix this.
Again, I don't want to, but I know I have to. Yeah, it's going to be a long day if I don't.
You got news?
I do. Very, very small pieces of news because I know that we've watched, what is it, The Woman's King? The trailer?
The trailer, okay.
Yes.
The Woman King.
The Woman King. Thank you. The Woman King. That trailer, to me, might have been the best trailer that I've seen for a movie of its nature in a long time. Like it gave me the plot, but then it gave me enough action for me to be like, oh, I gotta be here for this.
Just enough to draw you in.
Just enough. as I posted on my personal Facebook page, this needs the same energy that we gave Black Panther. Like, everybody that was like, oh, we're going to be there, you know, in droves.
Daishiki'd
Right.
out.
Daishiki'd out. However you want to do this. That movie needs that same energy.
Because it's true.
It's also a true story. So that, you know, the same energy you gave to a fictional tale, you should be doing this for history. So that's how I feel about it. Secondly, if the MCU ever did like a Dora Milaje origin story, it's too late. It's been done. This is that movie.
They could still do a show.
They could still do it, but it wouldn't even come close. I don't think it comes close to what this movie's going to do. Piggybacking off of that, there have been constant rumors and now confirmed leaks of Ironheart's armor in Wakanda Forever. You're welcome to go digging for those to see it if you really care. So far, they've already confirmed Namor in Wakanda Forever. Obviously, that means if Namor's in it, Atlantis is in it. I don't know what story they're going to tell, but if Shuri is running Wakanda, then they're likely going to be doing kind of a Wakanda versus Atlantis type thing. Will they go as far as there being like mass casualties?
Is this going to be like a BVS thing though, where it's like
it won't be
we start off
BVS
as
per
enemies,
se.
but then like
No,
comes a new challenger.
because Atlantis was not like they came to blows, and there was like bodies on both ends. Like
That sounds like comic book stuff.
right.
Doesn't
I
sound
don't
like
know if the
MCU
MC.
stuff.
It doesn't sound like MCU stuff, which we'll talk about shortly once we get past this news portion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to see Ironheart's armor, there is now merch that has been listed, which also shows pictures of it.
Oh, that's
You know what bothers me is that because merch has to be like approved and then also be like marked up and sent out to places, you always kind of get those like weird leaks now because we now know what Gore looks like because of, you know, the toy. And, you know, so I don't know. It's kind of not as fun anymore.
Yeah, but keep in mind that every leak is not by accident.
Oh no, not anymore. Yeah, it's all to garner that excitement, I guess, or disappointment. But we'll get into that part later. You have any news for us, Sensei?
I do not this evening.
Okay, next time, come with some news.
I will do that.
I'm absolutely kidding, but you're welcome to come with news if you have it.
Disrespectful.
Maybe, not necessarily. All right, your news.
My news. The only news I have is there's a show on Netflix called Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy. It's dropping the second half or the second batch of episodes on September 15th. I personally didn't care for the show. I would probably give it like a 2 at best. But I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. So if that was your thing, if that was your jive, then September 15th, you're going to get the 14 to 24 episodes. So.
All right.
Or 14th to 24th.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we kind of I felt like we took a detour and it felt long, but it's not that long.
It's not that long.
So we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
The review portion of BNR. If you don't know, now you know. It's Thor's review because I got on the shirt. Got on the hammer. Mjolnir.
If you didn't, look at the title and was like, I wonder what this is.
Right. Yeah, Thor's Love and Thunder, directed by Taika Waititi. As we like to do here, as is our custom, we're going to give you a non-spoiler or spoiler-free review first, which is just pretty much our ratings. And then right after that, spoiler alert, we're jumping right into it and discussing it.
Yeah.
So, Sensei, you're our guest here. So out of 5, how would you rate Thor Love and Thunder?
I would probably rate it as a 3.5.
Okay.
It was a good movie. It wasn't great. It wasn't the worst MCU movie either. So I did appreciate it for what it is.
All right. Jayhawk?
I gave it 2 scores. First score is standalone score.
Okay.
Standalone score.
I knew you were going to do this, by the way.
Movie like by itself, 2.5. Continuity score, like in the grand scheme,
The MCU
of the
score?
MCU score, a 2.
Okay. I was also going to do 2 scores because I felt it was coming. I felt that you were going to make this argument, even though we never talked about it. I was just like, I felt the pettiness in the humidity of the air. It was thickening, like the humidity that is currently existing in Philadelphia. Anyway, my MCU score, as you would, I give this a 3. And as a standalone movie, if we're always and when I say standalone, I would say as a sequel of the Thor movies, right? If this was a sequel to Ragnarok,
Sure.
I'm going to give this a 4. And we'll explain why. And as customary, I like to go last just because of all the comic book stuff, and I get a little wordy. But
Well, shouldn't he go last?
well, yeah. I mean,
technically,
we got this. We got this on lock.
Okay.
Anyway,
with that
being said,
spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead. That's right. I wish we had the picture of Mace when he does this. From his album. What album was that? Where he's.
That sounds like sinful music that I wasn't allowed to
Oh,
listen
probably. Anyway, I didn't listen to it. I just knew.
Don't retcon.
I didn't listen to it. Don't give me the line. I didn't listen to it. I just remember the album cover. Anyway, spoilers are here. So let's talk about it. Josh, how are you feeling? Like, you gave it a 2 and a 2.5.
I got notes.
Okay,
I'm gonna read
keep them to a minimum.
I'm gonna read them.
Okay,
and then we're gonna keep going.
Get it out your system.
Prepare paragraphs.
It's gonna go by real fast. I promise you.
Okay.
All right. I found that this movie did not take itself too seriously, almost to a fault. Is Thor the joke character now? I thought that would be left to the Guardians of the Galaxy or even Ant-Man. The 4DX experience was more impressive than the movie itself. Days later, it doesn't stand out in my head the same way that the Batman did, albeit I'm biased. But the Batman was also a very great movie. I feel like, in general, there haven't been any connective tissues made for the projects that Marvel Studios has been producing for Phase 4. Once again, I'm not a comic book connoisseur, but that's how I feel.
That's fair.
And between TV shows, it's a bit more understandable, and you're able to get away with it. But in big movie projects, such as Multiverse of Madness or Thor 4, where you're staging a scene with multiple gods from different realms, even a glimpse of something to show we're moving towards something would be nice, since it's so expected at this point with the machine that Marvel has created. Does this mean we've been spoiled? Maybe. But that's not exactly our fault, with almost a decade worth of being trained in a certain way. I.e., nobody in our theater moved when the credits were rolling because everyone knew that there would be post-credit scenes.
As you should.
But back to the movie. Was this an example of talk no jutsu? Seemed like it. I think I would have rather had Gore realize and wish his daughter back himself, even after losing the fight, instead of being talked into it. But I get it. Sometimes all the muscles and powers in the universe or the multiverse just don't, provide the nudge that well-placed words can. The kid battle scene was cute and did its job in the theater. The daughter is an adaptation of the Marvel Comics Cosmic Entity of Love, allegedly, played by Chris Hemsworth's daughter in real life. Jealous Stormbreaker is one of the funniest characters in the movie. When did Eternals happen? That had to be a major worldwide event, and absolutely nobody is talking about it.
Okay.
See? Quick.
Yeah.
Seems like you practiced it.
Few counterpoints, but I'll wait till it's my turn to really go at what you're saying.
Go at me. Go at me.
Yeah.
Freudian slip.
That's not Freudian slip. I said what I said. I stand by it. Anyway, but Sensei, how you feeling?
Yeah, so I gave it a 3.5, and the reason why I gave it a 3.5 is because it's a campy film in that, most of the film has a light tone to it, except for Gore the God Butcher, for which, personally speaking, I think Christian Bale came to knock it out the box, and he did knock it out the box with that character. Where there are some character flaws as far as design is concerned, to allow it to be a little bit more comic book accurate, certainly was. But I think that's unfortunately the expected norm nowadays when it comes to MCU movies. If I was to really base this off of or rate this just based upon comic book accuracy, I wouldn't even come close to 3.5.
Mm.
I will probably be somewhere between a 1.5 and a 2. Because one of the things that I was really expecting to see was more about the Necrosword and to show that it was a living, breathing symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really show that.
Sony got them rights.
Yeah, I mean, they showed a little bit at the beginning.
It did, very briefly.
At the beginning, where so that they were in whatever tropical, the planet or whatever that they were on at that point in time. But one of the things that you mentioned was, joke. One of the characters that's in this movie, unfortunately, time and time again, does not get a chance to. There is no character development relative to Sif. Lady Sif.
And it hurts, don't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we was on the same playing field on that one.
Yes.
To the point where I didn't even recognize. It seemed like she was important, and I was like, I guess I should know who this is. And it wasn't until after watching a YouTube video, I was like, oh, she's been in Loki. Oh,
she's been
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
She's been around.
She's been here.
Around. Yeah.
She at day one almost.
However, it's just one of those things that there has been no development since the beginning. And she is a warrior to the utmost. Mm-hmm. But you would really never be able to tell just by looking at how she's been portrayed in the various TV shows and movies that she's been in throughout the years. However, I thought that, while to your point of Batman, there really isn't a comparison because I'm in the boat with you that Batman 4 or 4.5 for me, depending upon the day of the week. But I've come to accept MCU movies as to what they are. There are things to where so that they want to try to generate as much money as possible, and the entertainment factor included in there too to appeal to wide audiences. Because once again, this is fringe comic book accurate for me. Fringe. However, will I go see it again? Probably, only because I have a Regal movie pass. So, I can go see it as many times as I want to.
Right. Flex on them.
Flex on them. At this point, to be able to sit back and enjoy it. Maybe I missed something.
Sure.
Maybe my eyes glazed at one point in time, or as I was rocking and rolling in my chair in the 4D experience, maybe I missed something.
With no belt.
Right.
Exactly.
No belt
safety
at all.
belt.
No belt and wind blowing at me and my daughter telling me that I smell something. I don't know what it is that she smelled. Every time the wind came our way.
It was a weird scent.
Yeah. But it was like old buttered popcorn and feet and just like, for me, it was. I don't know what was going on with other people next to me. But mind you, we all went to go see this movie together. They chose to surprise me for my birthday. So that happened. And I appreciate you guys for doing that.
Oh, okay.
However,
you said they chose
chose
this way, and I hated it.
Nope. I said I appreciate it is what I said.
That's what the record states.
It's on the recording. I'm on camera saying I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, I guess just to wrap up for me, in that, I do and can appreciate this being the fourth movie of Thor, and there does seem to be, at least from this one, some continuity from one Thor movie to the next. However, as far as a Phase 4 movie is concerned, and Phase 4 in general, unfortunately, it seems, at least this is my take, in that, Phase 4 is to set up Phase 5, in that introducing you into a bunch of new characters that will form some new teams, either to replace roster spots from the original Avengers, or introducing new event or young Avengers, and so on and so forth. So I didn't really expect, there to be, some overarching villain in Phase 4. However, I am excited to see, a couple things that are coming up relatively soon, for which one you've mentioned, Wakanda Forever, but more for me is Blade. That's the one I'm most excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have two questions. One, with talking about your flex of the Regal Pass, I found that going to the movies, because this is like the first time we've gone to the movies since, I think, the Batman.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, Doctor Strange.
Forgettable experience, but Doctor Strange.
But even in that, it's like going to the movies now, it's like, oh, snap, I can't pause this.
Right.
And I've already paid money.
Yeah. So you blink, you miss it, right?
And it's a different awareness, I think. And I don't know if you feel the same, because you flexing out here. But like, is there at least a glimmer of like, feeling like us peasants down here in the muck and the mire?
To a degree, because to your point, you can't pause, you can't run, take a bio break.
Bio break. I like that from now. I'm gonna use that one. Bio break. Oh,
it almost sounds like an anime movie.
Almost, right? But then you realize what it actually means, and then you're like, depreciates it a little bit.
Yeah. So you can't go out and run to your kitchen and go get something. But for me, the entertainment value is there. In that, I'm getting an experience that I wouldn't get at home, even though I do enjoy it at home. But having that ridiculously big screen sitting in front of you, has been worth it for me. And as being able to take advantage of it and see different things that I wouldn't normally see, is certainly another reason why I decided to get it as well. Because, like, for instance, and I don't want to dovetail, but I've seen Black Phone twice now.
I heard that's good, though.
It is a good movie. It is a good movie.
Which one was this?
Black Phone? I think it's like a horror thing with Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen pictures, and I was just kind of like,
yeah.
I'll wait till I'm able to. I'll wait till I'm able to watch it at home with the lights on,
right?
And
windows like full open. Second question was, how many movies has it been in the Phase 4?
Starting with Black Widow is the first movie of Phase 4.
So I was just looking at this the other day.
So it was Black Widow,
Doctor Strange,
No Way Home.
Oh, No Way Home.
Multiverse
of Madness, Doctor Strange,
and then Thor.
Oh, so we're only 5 movies in.
Yeah, we're at the halfway point, believe it or not.
Sure. Okay.
Of Phase 4 from a movie standpoint.
Okay. I guess that's different, and I can recalibrate and I can make that statement.
Yes and no, though, right? Like, I'm gonna wait till it's my turn, but I'm sorry.
But it's only because we know that the issue is the internet. I think, because we know that Kang is a thing. Kang?
Kang is a thing.
Kang. Not Shere Khan. You know that Kang is a thing. And also, I heard someone say that they think that this is all a setup for like Galactus and how like Phase 4, like the Fantastic Four and all that stuff.
We about to talk about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got you.
But like, I guess because we know, or because I knew who this big bad is supposed to be, I'm like, why aren't we seeing like him working in the backgrounds? Why aren't we seeing like what's his name? Who plays Kang?
Oh, Jonathan Williams.
Jonathan Major. Like, why aren't we seeing him like just like walk by like in like a background scene? You know what I mean? Like just something where it's like, oh snap, like it's happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think that's it, because I forget how long we've been doing this Marvel thing, and it's like they took years to craft it. So now, like I said, like, are we spoiled? Where it's like, I'm not like, what is Phase 4 about? It's just a bunch of random movies.
Well, I'm about to tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Go ahead.
Is my turn now? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, before we talk about Phase 4 as a whole, I want to say something directly to anyone who has yet to see the movie. If you are not a fan of Taika Waititi's humor, you are not going to enjoy this film. You will be likely annoyed, and likely disengaged from it because of the way that he delivers his humor. It's a lot of repetitive jokes, dry to deadpan humor, and then as soon as you go from dry to deadpan humor, then it goes to extremely campy, in your face, on the nose humor. And so I'm a fan of Taika Waititi's humor, just across multiple movies and genres, shows. If you've ever watched like What We Do in the Shadows, like he's a producer on there. He's also one of the creators. It's the way he delivers his comedy that garners a laugh out of me. So I enjoyed the humor of this movie overall. I was a little let down based on the fact that the story they were telling is one of Thor's most recent arcs within, I would say, in the last 5 years. Jane being sick, Jane having cancer, being the mighty Thor. There was a build-up from Jason Aaron's storytelling that had stakes that didn't just affect Thor's universe. It affected like the Marvel universe as a whole, to the point where like at one point Heimdall, who was still alive in the Marvel universe, ends up dying, and then Sif becomes his replacement, which they kind of alluded to in the movie with her training Axel. Axel was that was such a weird Easter egg to throw in there, because Axel is like Heimdall's son, but you don't get no action like that. So you're just kind of like, all right, I appreciate that someone read a comic book, right? But at the same time, I'm also like, no one else really cares about this. But I like you said, the kid scene paid off the way that it was supposed to. It gave me that little warm feeling, like, oh, kids fighting, wonderful. I think it was a miss, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that there's probably some director's cut out there of probably a little bit more darkness from gore that probably didn't make the cutting floor, because you see the one scene where he kills one god, then they kind of just do like, oh, a bunch of alerts where he's just been on this rampage, and you're like, huh? When? When did this happen? When did this start?
I feel like that, and this is kind of like to my point of like Thor being almost like a joke character. Like, I feel like the Dark World was probably like as dark as it got, but it took a hard. It was also,
well, here's the reason why it was as dark as it got. It was to the detriment of the character. Dark World is one of the MCU's worst movies. Only because the lore that they were trying to build on did not connect with fans the way that they thought. I would argue that Thor is probably the character that most of the MCU average fan base connects with the most, because he's lost the most.
Not Spider-Man?
Not Spider-Man. Spider-Man's lost Aunt May.
But that the MCU base connects with the most?
The MCU base connects with as a character who's been long-standing. Like, Spider-Man's a more considered a newer one. He only shows up in Phase 3 and later. But Thor has, like, had the development.
I would argue that.
Yeah?
And say Iron Man.
Well, I'm saying up until
his death.
his death, right? But I'm saying now the next character after that would have been Thor. Because Thor has lost, we watched Thor lose his mom. Loki's died twice. They even explained it in the movie, like, he continues to keep experiencing these losses, but at the same time, you keep getting this humor out of his movies. And I think that's what they wanted to kind of connect you to, is just like, this character tends to bounce back. And then, like, now Jane dies in this one, and you're like, what's next for Thor? Like, who else dies after this? Like, is it everybody? I would argue that as a standalone movie, like I said, I think it was a fun summer movie, right? Like, you got the kid scene where they all fight. You got the big effects and, the space Viking traveler story. I think that all connected well. As an MCU story, it disconnects only because there's no real stakes. You kind of saw Gore getting set up to be the god killer, and you only see him kill one god.
We knew that he wasn't, like, and I think that's the issue with MCU movies.
Oh, the villain problem,
like,
is still very much a thing.
It's like, we know he's not going to be a thing.
But I agree with Sensei when he said, like, the Necro Sword should not have been. I don't think the Necro Sword should have been broken. That was the thing that you could have left there to very much explain, one, the symbiotes. There's even a storyline where Thor becomes, like, the last remaining person in the universe and still ends up fighting Loki because the Necro Sword exists. Like, the Necro Sword is death. It's the end of all things. So you're like, how does it break from Mjolnir? Like, just in this moment, you had made a comment. You had made a comment on Facebook, and that's what I wanted to get to. But before I do that, on Facebook, when you were like, anyone who thinks that they make sense of what's going on in Phase 4 is a fool. And I was like, he's targeting me. Can't wait to let out this card. But real quick, so I would argue that the average MCU fan does not fully understand the cosmicness. That's not even a word, but the cosmicness of what's happening or the buildup. Because what they've been doing, if you've watched closely with Eternals, with the whole Celestial thing, it's set up for what I would believe to be X-Men. If they do decide to bring back the Inhumans, they probably won't. But you've seen, like, glimpses of, like, the Living Tribunal. You've seen Ta over and over again as statues when they were at the Pantheon or whatever, and Thor. Like, bunch of random, gods. I put quotations because, they're technically considered aliens for most of them. The little weird thing that they did with Hercules at the end, I was like, I don't know why he wasn't in the movie.
But that's a setup.
I know it's a setup, but, it's just also kind of like, they could have did that in the movie. It didn't have to be a cut scene. It didn't have to be a post-credit scene.
It could be argued that a lot of these post-credit scenes could have been, like...
Well, I mean, half of them are gags, right? But anyway, so I would say, to the average MCU fan, just finish out Phase 4, maybe see Phase 5, see how it goes before you call it quits on the MCU. But I think for the 12 people who are in the writing room to have to maintain continuity for this entire scope of what is the MCU, I would never want that job. To just kind of be like, no, we put Ty in the background of this, and then you got to remember. Nah, I wouldn't want that. But like I said, the cosmicness of it all with the setup of Star Fox being, Thanos' brother, like Galactus is going to show up. That is a guarantee. Like, there's no way around that. I do think the story that they end up telling could have a sense of finality to it. I don't think we see anything past a phase 6 for the MCU. I think we might literally see like this build up to like, this is it. We're done after this. Because I don't know how much longer the fan base can hold on to it.
That's real.
One, the comic books, the purists of us, can't defend it much longer. Like, after a while, you just kind of like, they do whatever they want.
It's Earth 9999999.
199999. Because whatever this 616 crap is, I don't stand by it. And then you have like the average moviegoer is just going to be like, if this isn't a straight to Disney Plus thing, I'm not going to see it. And Marvel, y'all got like 10 more movies before everybody gives up on this.
Fortunately, though, they have like a whole slew of movies
slated out. But they always do. But,
And I think to the point of like introducing the mutants, I think it would be dope.
I don't think I want to wait for it.
And I think that's the issue because we already know. I feel like we've already seen the slate for like 2023, right?
We've seen the slate for up to 2026, I believe.
Have we?
I believe so.
No,
I feel like the
phase 4 doesn't stretch out to 2026.
They have post phase 4 stuff in those movies because Fantastic Four is not in phase 4, is it? Is it?
I believe it is.
It's supposed to be the end of phase 4.
It is supposed to be the end. Okay.
So
I was discounting that as like, we'll see it when we see it.
So it's like, I think if not with Fantastic Four or I don't know, something before or like right before or something right after, if you're not introducing the mutants, then it's probably never going to happen. And unfortunately, with a lot of the stuff between knowing people like yourselves and YouTube as a whole, there are just a lot of fan theories that are like really dope that I like hear and I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. And MCU is just like,
we're also not in the room. We're also not in the room where it happens, right?
It's like or not, or you'll just accept what we give you, and it's just like, you're right.
I think, and I would make, and this will be my final argument. I think Disney needs to refocus. They have the platform of Disney Plus. Just
stop doing 6 episodes.
Right, these limited series things.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing. I wanted Ms. Marvel to be great, and it was for 3 episodes.
But we'll review that next week.
Or just on our Instagram.
Oh, Josh is like, I'm not giving no extra energy to this. But no, to that point, like I feel like they should just do actual shows that all kind of weave together, or not, because
But here's like, if you have the platform for it,
you already have the formula, right?
Then like you can do these full seasons, and so then when you have a movie, like that can be like literally a catalyst, the cherry on top. Like
they're not. I don't think they're hearing.
Multiverse of Madness should have been the biggest cherry on top that leads to the next meal. Like
I agree. However, I don't think that happens the way that we think. One, production for a TV show is different. The production time overall is different for a TV show versus a movie. So the movie's done already, but they're just like, we can't release it until, next year. But then you have shows that are being done like in 9 months, not 6 to 9 months sometimes. And
you can plan all that out though.
You
can plan out the story.
But like I said, I don't want to be the 12 people in that room that gotta like piece that all together. And they're probably kind of like, I work from home anyway. I don't want to do that. So we have reached the end of the episode.
Any final thoughts from Sensei?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
I think one of the things that you made mention a few moments ago, just to circle back on, is Kang, Galactus.
Oh, yeah. You did talk about Kang. I forgot.
But then also, too, to bring it full circle, Dr. Doom.
Right. We're still waiting for Dr. Doom.
Well, and I think, unfortunately, while they're planting seeds now, you really can't make too much hay until Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Kang has such a complex background to him.
And he does so many things
that people don't understand and grasp the relationship or the origin of Kang as it relates to Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Because you need
like huge.
It's so interwoven into the
which would be really cool to see if you do it right.
If you do it right.
Right.
Because you also be like, Kang is black. Fantastic Four is white. They're just white people. They're just they are.
That's a different podcast.
They're just organically white. That's just what it is.
Nah, there's Michael B. Jordan. That
don't count. He was adopted. That don't count. We don't talk about that movie.
Wow.
There was that one time.
The movie that if we did a BNR for, I'd give it a 0. That movie. That's the movie you talk about.
But here's another thing that I think that goes to the taming of our fandom and like our fan fire. Civil War, right? I feel like I can just say that and be like, there was Civil War in the comics, and then there was MCU Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
So it's like, as not having read the comics, I don't have that hurt and pain to
it hurts.
Go to the therapist for.
Hurts,
but like, from hearing
so
about it, it's like there has to be such a, to your point of like production value. What can you afford? I mean, Disney has a lot of money. But, like, what do they feel like putting their dollars towards? Like, what story do they want to tell? How are they going to pare it down for the masses, right? Which just unfortunately means, like, there are a lot of cool ideas that I hear. I just feel like it's never going to be as cool as, like, a fan theory. Never. Almost never.
If I was, and this will be my final point, if I was to explain the absence of Fantastic Four, which is considered to be the oldest or the first family of Marvel, right? And where have they been all this time? You could argue away that they've been out creating other universes or pocket universes with their son. It's literally written into the comic books. When Marvel, and this will be my last thing, when Marvel was like, I don't know if we will ever have the rights again to Fantastic Four. How can we get rid of them? They wrote them off by saying, the Fantastic Four is out there creating new planets, new universes with new life, and they'll never come back. They're doing this for forever. And then when they got the movie rights back, they were like, it's time to come back home. Yeah. So you could literally do that, and people wouldn't know the difference. They'd just be like, we've been out here doing your work.
Like, to call them the first Marvel family, I feel like that's more just like that's something that like comic book people would know.
They were the first family of superheroes.
But otherwise, you could just be like, they haven't gone on that space mission yet. You know what I mean? Like,
do not give us a Fantastic Four.
There is, and I think this is a whole separate.
That's a different conversation
about the Fantastic Four, because one of the things that the MCU has not done well to date is period pieces. I mean, they've done a little bit with Captain America, but if you really want to, immerse the history of the Fantastic Four, you got to go back.
You got to go back to the 60s.
You got to go back. And to your point,
they're not finna do that.
The microverse, a.k.a. the quantum realm, because they can't call it the microverse.
They can't. You're right.
In MCU, unfortunately.
Why? Because Sony?
A lot of people. Are, you can't call it that.
Yeah. So,
we got to have you back. I think we're going to do, maybe, but I think we're going to just do an episode of just like breaking down the MCU and like, what could they fix? What could they do differently? Just, maybe one day Kevin Feige will watch that episode. There may not, but we'll try.
Break it down for our Patreon. It'll be like it'll be like a 6-episode. It'll be a 6-episode limited series breaking down the MCU.
You sound so
Fuck you,
petty right
Disney.
now. You sound real petty.
Just saying.
Just saying. But all right, we have reached the end of the episode. We appreciate, as always, that you were able to join us. Let us know what you thought about Thor, if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, then you haven't even heard any of this conversation because you stopped right after we said spoilers. But yes, Sensei, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
The insight that you give is incomparable. There's no one else that can break it down the way that you do it. So I appreciate that. We'll definitely have you back, because why not?
Watch out for that 6-episode limited series.
And as we always like to say here, y'all have a blessed night. Peace.